Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Optimal Wealth Podcast, where we discuss creating passive income through real estate. Our mission is to help educate investors on how to grow wealth and invest passively. My name is Jared Alexander, and I am a passive investor, currently in 6 syndications as a limited partner. I am also the founder of Optimal Equity Group, which is a real estate investment firm that was created primarily to help educate the passive investor. We do that in a couple of different ways. One is we provide education to help give you the confidence to get into the passive investing space. And two, each episode we will interview amazing guests that explore the strategies, insights, and secrets used by successful investors. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out on your real estate journey, this podcast is designed to help give you the confidence and knowledge you need to make informed and profitable decisions. Right. Welcome to another episode of the Optimal Wealth Podcast. And today I am super excited to introduce our guest here. And his name is Dustin Young. And Dustin is a devoted husband, father, and a compassionate benefactor whose life is guided by profound gratitude. In 2014, a traumatic accident altered his life's course, leading him to embrace resilience and venture into real estate. Starting with residential properties, Dustin keeps eye for potential and market trends propelled his career. In 2020, he transitioned to commercial real estate, marking a significant evolution in his vision. Dustin's journey exemplifies the transformative power of gratitude and the resilient spirit forged through life's changes. As he forges ahead in real estate, he remains dedicated to living a lasting legacy of empowerment and opportunity. Dustin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Isn't it amazing what other people write for you?
It sure is. It sure is. And you know what? I resonate a lot. I mean, the first part of that is devoted husband and a father, right? Because, that's, I think, why we do what we do, right, in real estate, and just creating that freedom to spend the time with people we love the most,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I like that part. And Dustin, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you. I'd love to, hear a little bit more of your background, how you got into real estate, and your journey through that.
Sure. So a lot of people ask, when you get into real estate, where do you get your money? Well, so the part of my story that's sort of not repeatable is that I sold a previous business. Not everybody can do that, but if you backed it up to the beginning of that story, I started at FedEx Ground with me, one truck and one route. And over the course of the next 10 years, I slowly built it up to 30 trucks in 3 states. And as you read in the bio, my traumatic accident was getting run over by one of those trucks one day, which, as you might imagine, brought things to a screeching halt. So I was able, so the gratitude part of that is I would never wish it on anyone, but I would never take it back because of where it has led me. At 35 years old, I was able to take 4 years off and be a stay-at-home dad. My boys were 5 years old and 10 months old at the time. So I got to be a stay-at-home dad until the youngest was in school all day, every day. In the meantime, my entrepreneurial mind was working in the background of what I wanted to do next once he went to school. And that's where I landed on real estate. So I started my real estate portfolio in a neighborhood I knew that I felt comfortable with. It was a Class D neighborhood, but my first house was $20,000. It was a single family bungalow. And I slowly built up total of six, just a few blocks away from there, within a nice 5-6 blocks range. And then starting with one truck and moving to 30, starting with a single family, I wanted more. World domination, right? As seems to be the motive here in real estate. But so I found an apartment building, and that's I know you're a multifamily guy, so it's definitely a great story if you want to dig into that one.
Sure, absolutely. I definitely want to dig into that, but if you don't mind sharing, when about this traumatic experience getting run over by the truck, right? I mean,
Sure.
like I mean, what were the injuries from that? I mean, I imagine some broken
Oh,
bones and
yeah.
stuff there, but like, what did
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Might be an audio recording, so I'll leave my shirt on. But yeah, you wouldn't know by looking at me, right? I am recovered. I don't really have any lasting injuries. I did damage 4 organs and break 15 bones and get a flight for life out of the deal. So,
Wow.
but honestly, what the accident taught me came from my insurance lady, because she's like, I need to know what you do, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, I do everything. It's my company. I thought I was an entrepreneur. I thought I was, kicking butt and taking names and had this freedom, the life I wanted to live, until I had to put it down on paper for my insurance lady that I was working 70, 80 hours a week.
Mm.
And I was always on the phone. Some days, your call log, recent calls would just be one day. You could flip through all the screens and it would be one day. So yeah, that was the biggest, besides the truck running me over, that was the biggest slap in the face. So that's when I was kind of like, whoa, that is not the freedom that I thought I had. And I really enjoyed my time being home with my kids. So I knew what I did next needed to allow me to have that same freedom of almost being unemployed, something that I could do, while they're at school, but wouldn't require my attention afterwards. And that's where I ended up in real estate.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that and being vulnerable there. It's I again, sorry to hear you had to go through that, but the life lessons too. It's good, you try to focus on the learnings we can have coming out of these, traumatic accidents, right?
Right.
And so with that business, so were you like a one-man shop? Were you the one doing everything? Or obviously you had 30 trucks there, but without you being involved, was that business still able to run without you on a day-to-day? Or is that when you decided to sell and kind of look at some other ventures?
Yeah.
Right.
So selling is true, but it's a little bit of a misnomer. Independent contractor, so it was my company.
Right.
But in the middle of my recovery is when they decided they were not going to renew my contract because my company was falling apart without me there. Mm-hmm. So again, I turned out to not be the greatest entrepreneur doing the FedEx thing. So I did have a manager, but he wasn't managing. We were always scrambling, always covering a route, training somebody, trying to hire somebody, covering for somebody who was sick or injured. That's why it had to go away. But fortunately, they give you enough notice that I was able to sell it before my contract expired. So
yeah, well,
that was my seed money.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you were able to at least profit from that. But I mean, I wanted to touch on that because I mean, this is life happens, right? And like with me and I've shared this before on other episodes, but being a W-2 sales guy, right, 100% commission, if I get hurt or ran over by a truck, God forbid, or something like that, I mean,
right,
my income stops right there, right? And
sure.
so this is where this passive investing can come in. And primarily here, we focus on real estate through different avenues and streams, but really whatever, right? Just having a bucket to put your money in and start letting it work for you. So if something, like this does happen, you have a plan B where you still have some residual income coming in where you can, buy groceries and support the family and whatnot, right?
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know AJ Osborne and his story, but kind of the same idea. He was, a salesman, and then he got paralyzed, and that all went away. So, looking back, right, the lesson I should have learned earlier was in listening to my wife. Honestly, right, like we all should.
Yeah.
So instead of reinvesting into more trucks and more routes, I should have diversified, so that if something did happen, I could have kept both. But this point, I'm pretty glad I'm not delivering packages anymore. So
Yeah,
I'll take
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's trial and error too, right? And hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
well, so let's dive in to some of the real estate. So you
Okay.
have this accident, kind of come to some realizations and start exploring the real estate path. Um, and you went down the residential. So talk a little bit about the residential and how you transitioned into the commercial real estate.
Sure. Where to start? I think I'll blame Brandon Turner, right?
Yeah,
The Bigger Pockets
bigger pockets.
podcast.
Yeah.
So I was actually back at FedEx helping out a friend when I was able to listen to, a couple hundred episodes while I was out on a route. So thankful for that opportunity. But really, it just came down to like, you just have to start. You can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts and talk to all the people you want. You still have to pull a trigger. So my first house was $20,000, the 4-bedroom, 1-bath in March of 2018. So my thought process was 20 grand. If it goes sideways, it's not going to hurt me, right? Whatever. I can give it to the tenant. I can sell it. I can burn it down, whatever. But if it works, then I'm good to go. And at the time, it was rented for $650 a month, and it came with a tenant. So, right, you kind of go back and you're like, whoa, that's like a 3.5% rule. So,
Right.
I got pretty excited about it. Obviously it needs work. Everything does, but didn't need anything obvious. So I was hooked. I got the first check. I didn't even wait for the first check, honestly. I bought another property like 3 weeks later from a wholesaler. It was a duplex. Bought 2 more single families from the sheriff's auction and another one off of MLS, all kind of in that same neighborhood. So I was in, and again, it was just me. So I was doing the rehabs. I was collecting checks. I kind of brought some of my FedEx ways with me, just taking everything on myself. But I've learned being around bigger and smarter people that just kind of think and scale and grow, and to not take it on myself, to have the self-awareness to know your own weaknesses. So yeah, that's where I moved up to multifamily so I could get 25 checks from one roof instead of one check from one roof. Hired a property management. I had an on-site manager for all the maintenance stuff. And now I'm moving on into syndication for retail strip malls. So definitely even more hands-off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely moving from that active to the passive income for sure. Well, you're definitely going to be more active because you're still going to be pursuing managing the property in the day to day. But
I can do that from a phone anywhere in the world.
Exactly, you can do that remote, right? I know tons of guys that are doing that, and they're taking these big excursions in Egypt and just all over the place, right? But I want to touch on, so you talked about, you just have to pull the trigger, right? So I think this is, something that I had to do because, I got into that analysis paralysis where I had a ton of education. I drove a lot for my job. So I was, steadily like you. I listened to hundreds and hundreds of episodes of the Bigger Pockets and still listen to a lot of podcasts to this day. But it's, once I got, I made that first purchase, which mine was a $75,000 single family in 2020. Okay. Right. And, but it was just really getting my foot over that threshold. Right. And just the fact of actually going through an inspection report, kind of negotiating everything. It just, I'm hands on now. Now I'm doing this. Right. And then like you, Dustin, I wanted to, go out and buy 60 more houses right after that. Right. And thankfully I stumbled across, commercial real estate pretty quickly and kind of started going down that route. When I say thankfully, but that was just my path. I wanted to scale, like you said, you could buy a 25 unit and you got 25 tenants paying rent instead of buying 25 houses that you're collecting rent from 25 different people, right? It's
Right.
yeah, it's a numbers game at that point because it's really same amount of work. Of course, you got to dot your I's and cross your, T's a little bit more on a, larger asset, because, one mistake can be very costly. But at the same time, it's one purchase, right?
Yep.
One contract you're signing and all that good stuff. So, but I had to get I wanted to touch on that because whether you're active or you're passive, right? It's good to know. I mean, if you're looking at being active and want to be hands-on, definitely do your research and educate yourself about what you're doing. But
Sure.
at some point you just got to take that leap, where you just got to pull the trigger, buy a property and do it, and that's going to be your
Yeah.
biggest learning lessons along the way. But if you're, working a full-time job and you don't really, have the time, and like Dustin here, I mean, it takes a lot of work. It's a full-time job doing this, especially when you're a one-man show, hiring all the contractors, getting the place fixed up, getting the tenants put in place, managing the property, all that. It's a lot of work. So if that's, not what you really want to focus on, that's where you shift to more of the passive, where you can give some money to somebody like Dustin. He can go out, buy these properties, do all the managements, and you get returns on that, right? So I think that's a good distinction.
Exactly.
With the active versus the passive, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the Bigger Pockets podcast is almost detrimental because it's kind of a shiny object syndrome every
Right.
week. It's like, oh, short-term rentals, ooh, long-term rentals, ooh, maybe hotels, right? There's storage. There's just so many ways to do it. Just pick one.
Let's pick one. Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, because you can, and I've gotten caught up in that shiny object, especially just getting started out. But Brandon Turner Ox, yeah, right. He talks about you can go a mile wide, right, which is looking at the short-term rentals, Airbnb, storage, commercial, multifamily, retail, whatever, right. But just pick one and go a mile deep, right, and just really niche down, focus on that. And as you go down that road, other options may open. But start your journey there and just focus on one thing, because it can really get overwhelming too. That was my experience pretty quick, as well, trying to figure out all these different avenues I wanted to go down. So okay,
narrowing from my mile wide. I did everything. Right, single family duplex, short-term rental, at a midterm rental, commercial apartment building. Yeah. So yeah. I'm narrowing down myself. So
right.
Guilty. Still guilty. 6 years later.
Which is good. And I'm sure a lot of those were profitable too, right? So, you can be profitable in all those areas, but yeah, once you kind of narrow down, you can just kind of, focus a little bit better, and not be I'm like squirrel, right? I'm off to one thing, I'm doing this, I'm over here now, okay, I listen to this podcast, let me check that out, right? And it's easy to do for sure. So you buy the commercial, the 25 unit. So all right, so now you're transitioning. So let's talk about the retail space, because that's something we really haven't discussed on this podcast as of yet. Mostly it's been multifamily. So, tell us a little bit about retail. What are the benefits? I mean, given the current market with the interest rates and I mean, let's just be honest with COVID, right? I mean, a lot of people are you got Uber, a lot of people are doing stuff from home, a lot of people are working remote, a lot of, not a lot of people are, well, so to sum it up, a lot of people are running services, that they were going to the office space for from home now. So if you could just educate what you're seeing on that front, and yeah, just, the benefits of retail investing right now.
Yeah. Right. So going from single family to the apartment building, I really liked the multiple checks per one roof. But I didn't like all the sob stories. Dog ate my homework, whatever the story was. So going to commercial, and just still having that entrepreneur, mindset. I wanted to work with like-minded fellow entrepreneurs, small business owners, and strip malls provide multi-tenants under one roof, right? So if somebody leaves, it's not all of the cash flow gone, and you get to work with people that is their livelihood. Strip mall guy had a tweet, that said, no, they're not credit tenants, but their credit is their social standing. They're providing for their families. They're a pillar in their community, in their neighborhoods. That's their credit. So you look at different headlines in retail, had a huge build boom, and then they stopped when 2008 hit. So they stopped building retail. So now all of the businesses have come behind and filled it up. So retail has one of the lowest vacancies across the country, and the rents have only increased as the vacancy goes down. So retail is a strong performing sector. Obviously, office space is the one in the news getting hit because people can work from home. But logistics, e-commerce has taken over a lot of industrial warehouse space, but it's not, you can't get your haircut online, right?
Yeah.
You can order your pizza online, but it's still got to come from a local restaurant. So, these are service-based community centers. There's so many different names for them.
Yeah.
But yeah. Multi-tenant, small business owners that don't sleep there.
Yeah.
That, want to be part of the community. I toured a property yesterday. They're salon owners. They've been in the same spot for 23 years. It's a hair salon, right? It's got to be there. You got to get your hair cut. Not everybody wants to look like a shaggy woolly mammoth or something.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I got to imagine that's what you're looking for when you are, buying these, strip malls and stuff, is you're looking for more of the service base, not the ones that, Amazon could,
right.
Kind of take over, right? Which we've unfortunately seen a lot of that.
And even then, honestly, I think, yes, Amazon's taken over a lot, but I don't think they can't kill everything.
Right.
I mean, antiques, right? Furniture is hard. I mean, obviously Wayfair does it. Home Depot actually sells more furniture than Wayfair, if you didn't know that. So wow. Yeah, you can get furniture, but we're still humans. We still like to touch and feel and try things out, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to go and see it in person. But yeah, service based for sure.
So yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I want you to touch on too, because Dustin and I were actually having a conversation yesterday, and tell the listeners what you told me about, the retail space and just how you want to add to the community, right? How you're providing there and just how you're enhancing the community, right? How what your goal is there.
Right. So I looked at two properties yesterday. One is smaller, one's a lot bigger, and I don't have the math solely off my head, but it's over half vacant.
Yeah.
But it is like the hub of the town. It's in between two freeways, so it's a main thoroughfare. The property has been there since like 1961, 1971. And it's come and gone. And unfortunately, the owner he's got too many other properties, and he kind of needs it as a write-off because his other ones are doing well. So he's not putting any money into it, but the city really needs it. There is a huge Amazon warehouse that just got built, a mile down the road. But all of those people that are going to come there to work there need a place to shop, to eat, to buy their groceries, to get their haircut, to get their new cell phone. So that's what we're trying to do, is really come in, make it an improvement. I maybe a little risky, but I want to give, the mom and pop shops a chance. You hear about all the infamous stories of, people starting out in the garage. Well, this is the next level to the garage before they make it big. Give them a shot to put out a storefront, to put a face in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I think that's what I wanted to touch on there is just your goal. And, you're not just looking at buying these, strip malls and kicking everybody out to raise the rents as high as you can, right? You're just, obviously it's an investment. So you want it to be profitable, which you're giving people a chance to, to, run their business, right? Like the nail salon with 23 years, right? I mean,
right.
Or the new guy that's just getting started, that's transitioning into,
Yep.
his business or whatever that may look like. So no, I think that's great. Yeah.
As they say, nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. So a vacancy, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
Because if they're going to come to your store, they're going to come to your neighbor's store. All right.
Yeah.
If they come to one thing, they're gonna keep shopping and buy other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you don't have to share too much on this, but after those 2 job walks, are those properties looking pretty good, or?
There's some due diligence, some questions that we need to answer, but okay. We will continue pursuing both of them.
Gotcha. Cool. Now, again, we just not going to talk numbers or anything, just depending on how these are structured. But yeah, I definitely would love to hear how that goes in the near future, Dustin. So
yeah. I'm sure my syndication attorney would prefer I don't talk all the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got guidelines. Yeah, from the SEC for sure. So we'll stick to those. All right, awesome, Dustin. Well, and just curiously, for my own curiosity, have you participated in any syndications as a passive investor yourself, or?
No, I'm too greedy. I think I can do better.
Not okay. Yeah. So just staying active, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. Keep buying my own.
All right. That sounds good. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and focus or transition into our fire round here. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And the first one is, could you recommend a book on real estate for investors just starting out, and a book that is particularly good for cultivating a positive mindset?
Well, I went upstairs and raided the library so I could show it to you. The Honeybee is one of the recent ones I've read that I really just loved. The story, I would liken it to sort of a modern day Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's kind of I think it's a better storyline, one that's more easy to follow. Just really resonated with that story, and it's great. It's not going to give you the nuts and bolts. It's not going to solve your analysis paralysis, but it will inspire you to get going.
Yeah.
Mindset. I had a tough one with that. This is one that I've read recently. I really loved. I don't know. I've kind of gotten more into the Stoic sort of big thinking, which has been around for thousands of years. I just never paid any attention to it. So I'm a pretty even keel guy. So just trying to get some wisdom out of that to coming from FedEx, where it was get it done now, if not sooner, to moving into real estate where you're talking in decades, trying to slow my mind down and exercise my patience. So that one certainly helped.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've read that book. I probably should go back and read that, because I was definitely a great read. And I thanks for sharing the Honeybee, because honestly, it's such a good parable, right? And and I related to it coming from the sales background. It talks about a sales guy and meeting a beekeeper, and every time I see honey, I think of the honeybee. Right, like that beekeeper. It's and just the story is pretty cool. I definitely encourage y'all to go check that out, and it's definitely a good good transition into real estate and
it's not a long book. It's a quick read. You can do that one in an afternoon.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, all right. So next question here: what is the practical first steps the audience can take to explore the space of passive investing?
reach out. Right. I mean, I can do a little self promote. Yeah, we do have a free little giveaway on syndication on my website, gdl.capital. Otherwise, there's plenty of marketplaces out there. Talk to somebody who's done it, right? Obviously, your podcast is a great resource for that. So, and if you really want to dig deep, you could talk to a syndication attorney, right? If you want to learn the rules and laws behind it. But yeah, I think really it's just an analysis. People need to figure out, like you were a salesman. Great. Okay, so let me use my sales money to buy real estate to buy back my time in life. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and it just kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the single family space and just getting started, right?
Right.
And if this is where you're just getting started, it's kind of one of those things. Once you find a good operator, we always hear that know, like, and trust factor. You pull the trigger, and you're going to learn a lot along the way, right?
Yeah. First step is Google it, because then all of your ads will be that, and you can just start siphoning through the ones that attend a webinar.
Yeah,
it's free information. You'll learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start asking questions and see how people are presenting things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of great resources out there, and definitely check out Dustin's website there for that free giveaway. And so question number 3, what is a daily habit you practice keeping you on track towards your goals?
Sure. It's on my iPad, but I fill out a sheet every day. You can kind of see behind me gratitude, discipline, and the third one you can't see is legacy. That's the GDL in GDL Capital. So I have a sheet. Legacy is my 3-year vivid vision. Discipline is like end of year this year goals, and then gratitude is this quarter. So I go through, it's the date, what my workout and exercise was for the day. Right now I'm tracking how much I sleep, how much I weigh. I'm doing 75 hard. And then, I handwrite my quarterly, my annual, and my vivid vision goals every day. I do a Bible verse, my thought about it, and my prayer about it. And then like a power list, like Andy Frisella. What are my 3 big tasks I got to get done today? And then at the end of the day, I'll do like a gratitude recap, just how those 3 tasks, did I get them done, how they went, and then what I'm thankful for.
No, that's awesome. So just curious, like, so when you get up in the morning, like, is this part of your morning routine where you just kind of go right into this, pull out these sheets and kind of journal what your goals are, what you need to focus on for the day, and at the end of the day allow maybe an hour to, all right, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, need to work on this.
I wish.
Yeah.
Honestly, right now I've been doing it more at bedtime.
Okay.
So it's a little, I kind of do the recap, but then I'll start the next day for what I know I need to do the next day.
Yeah.
No, my morning routine is I'll get up, exercise. I wake up my teenager, cook him breakfast, and then I wake up the 10-year-old, get him up and running, and then then it's off to work.
Yeah, I got that text today from you that you're thinking about putting some cold water on them for sure.
Yeah. Right. As I'm in the middle of cooking him breakfast.
Right. Yeah. On a side note, I just started the cold plunge, and
how's that going?
It's been good, actually. It's you got to go through the pain to get to the reward. But after you get to that 2, 3, 4 minutes or whatever it is that you're staying in there, it's it's a game changer. So
my hat's off to you. It's a balmy 12 degrees right now here. So our hot tub broke, and I got in it at like 40 degrees, and I was like, it hurt. My whole body hurt as it contracted. So I didn't make it very long.
No, it's a mental thing for sure. And then I'm about 2 weeks in, so we'll see. But speaking of the habit tracker, and I got to touch base on what you're talking about, because I just actually went through Brandon Turner's 3 goal setting event that he had, and so sounds like a lot of that. And you're part of the Better Life Tribe, right? Yeah.
I am. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. You're actually the second guest we've had on the show so far
Okay.
on the Better Life Tribe, and heard great things about it. But I'm guessing a lot of that stems from that as well, and just the accountability and the habit tracking, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do owe a big thank you to Brandon and just following him and, just planning the goals and writing it out and, setting, last year, my wife and I went to a hotel room and did the whole goal planning session. Unfortunately, we haven't set aside our time yet. This year I started it, but we haven't finished together. So,
Yeah.
but even just last year it carried over. So we're still been together for 30 years. So we're pretty much
Awesome.
always on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The pods that go with that, weekly calls with the guys to keep me accountable. It's like, okay, you said you were going to do it. Did you do it? Why not? What could you do better? So that's why I track all the things I do.
Yeah.
Trying to get better life.
Yeah. No, I love, Better Life, right? No, I love that. And just like with Brandon Turner, what kind of drew me to him just from listening to him on Bigger Pockets is like, he's successful in real estate, but at the same time, he's showing up as a dad, showing up as a husband, right? And
Right.
in all other areas of life. And that's what I strive for, right? It's, and same thing, just like you heard in Dustin's bio, exactly what he's doing, right? Is that's the goal, is to show up in all areas of our lives, not just the financial part, right? Because without the health, the family, and all this other stuff, the financial, it just, money doesn't mean nothing at that point, right?
Right, for sure. Right.
Yeah.
The guy who has health wants everything, but the guy who doesn't have health only wants health. And been there, done that. I got 3 feet of scars and a little bit of hardware to prove it.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that too. So, well, real quick before I transition. So 30 years. So high school sweetheart or?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
You
cool.
got it. When we were sophomores, different high schools, but yeah, we were still 15.
15 and been together ever since, huh?
Ever since. Yep. Went to the same college together. So that definitely helped. And
cool.
She's the reason we're in Milwaukee. So I'm born and raised in Iowa. But she got the job here. So I followed.
All right. Perfect, man. Well, congratulations on 30 years. That's awesome.
Yep. Been together. We didn't get married at 15. I know we're from Iowa.
Right. Yeah. But still, to be with someone for 30 years, that's, that's awesome. Especially, at your age, right? It's, you just
not common anymore.
Not common. And you don't see a lot of that anymore. So,
yep.
All right, cool. Well, last and final question here. If you can be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think what I came up with is the nice guy who didn't finish last. And it's easy to say a good dad, but you know what? My kids are going to leave me. So I want to be a good husband. She's going to be around for the rest of my life. We've been together forever, but I just want to prove that like you can be a decent human being, do good for the world, and still win.
Yeah. Creating that win.
Doesn't have to be one or the other. Yep, you can have both.
Right. No, I love that. I was thinking you were going to go to the be a good dad and a good husband, right. But no, I like that answer. You put some thought into that, so that's cool. Dustin, it's been great having you today, and really enjoyed our conversation, and definitely look forward to connecting and hearing about how these commercial properties are going that you're looking at. And
me too.
Hopefully that all works out. And if you could just share with us or share with the listeners how they can contact you and get a hold of you if they want to connect.
Sure. Instagram is my favorite device. So my personal one is DNAMKE, which is Dustin and Amanda, and that's the Milwaukee airport code. So, and then from there, you can get to the GDL.Capital One websites, all that jazz. I'm out there. I'm not hard to find.
Awesome. Well, definitely encourage y'all to connect with Dustin. And again, Dustin, thanks again for coming on the show today. And I'm sure we'll be in
Absolutely.
touch. So,
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Have a great night.
thank you for listening to the Optimal Wealth Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, be sure to optimize your results and take massive action on what you have learned here today. For more, visit optimalequitygroup.com.